Welcome, and we are live. So great to see you here. Let me get a little bit bigger to welcome you. The thing we're talking about today is all about speaking in a second language or another language and how to lead with confidence. Remember, language is never the real barrier. Never. How you show up is. That's what we're talking about. Now, last week we had some topics with the volume. I think we're good. If you're here live, go ahead and leave a comment. Give me an audio and visual confirmation. I'd really appreciate that. A little teamwork. Teamwork to make the dream work. That's what I'm talking about. Because what's the point of talking in mute? That's what this is all about. Unmute your voice. Unmute your voice. So if you've ever held back because of your accent, grammar, or feel like you might sound stupid or just being misunderstood, this session is for you. It's going to flip the script. You're going to learn how to lead conversations even when your English or Chinese or German or whatever language you want to be speaking in isn't perfect, because language is never the barrier, right? It's about the fear, those mental blocks. This session is especially for non-native English speakers who know they're capable, or non-native whatever speakers, or for people who just feel their language isn't fluent to the point that their brain is, that their thoughts are, that their skills are. This is for you if you know that you're capable, but feel stuck when it's time to speak up at work, on meetings, on camera. For some people, that's when things fall apart. If you want to be seen as a leader without changing who you are, you're in the right place. And I'm glad to have you here. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. If we haven't met before, I'm a verbal branding expert and conversation advocate, all about promoting conversations. I help professionals speak clearly, confidently, and powerfully in English, whether that's your strongest language or not, so that they can own their own voice and lead with impact. All right, so this isn't about teaching English. This is about building leaders, shining the spotlight on you and your voice. That's what we want to do. Unmute your voice. I feel like I'm shifted off to the side. Is that a little... I'm in a new studio today. I'm in my cousin's bedroom, or my nephew's bedroom again, and he just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Carter! Yay! A lot of birthdays in our family this month. Mine, my daughters, my nephews, my cousins. July was a busy month, right? Good times to be had by all. So I'm going to just check the chats. Go ahead and say hello if you're here. I'd love to shout out your name and welcome you personally, which I can't do unless you go ahead and let me know that you're here. Is Instagram coming through strong? Please let me know if you're listening on the Insta. I'd really appreciate that. So coming over here, closing that up, looking for the chats. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Welcome, everyone. So what are we talking about today? Today, I want to start with a question and think about the last time you stayed quiet. Not because you didn't have something to say, not because you didn't have value or experience to share, but you stayed quiet because you didn't feel confident or you didn't trust how it would sound when it came out of your mouth. Yeah, if you've ever felt that way, go ahead and give a hands up, drop an emoji. Like for me, I'd be dropping the monkey emoji with the hand over my eyes. Like, I know that feeling. I know that feeling hardcore. It's not a good feeling, especially when I see the team or the project derailing because I didn't open my mouth, because I didn't speak up. I see people walking face forward directly into conflict strategy decrumble, and just, it's like, if I would just speak up. If you felt that before, go ahead and drop an emoji in the comments. Right. And while we're here, I'm going to open the next slide to just give a quick review so you know you're in the right place of what you get today, what you get by joining our session today. Today, we're going to be talking about mindset shifts that build courage and clarity. So, we're going to be talking about confidence and leadership presence. We're going to be talking about tools to sound more confident without sounding fake, right? Many of us know the superhero pose and strike a pose. There's nothing to it. Yeah, it helps. I am an advocate for that. If that works for you, do it. Absolutely. But there are a lot of other things we can unpack today that might be a better fit. Plus, the third thing we're going to talk about today, this is a short and sweet lunch session. Well, it's lunch for me in the USA, probably dinner for you in Europe. But we're going to talk about practical ways to lead conversations and be heard and get heard, is what it says here. I'll maximize that so you can see it a little bit better if you're on your cell phone. This is kind of our agenda for today. And again, just go ahead and drop an emoji. Let me know you're here in the chats so I can call out your name. Welcome to those coming in. I see the numbers showing up. You're joining me live. I appreciate that. So glad to have you here. So glad to have you part of the session. Excellent. Excellent. So glad to see that. Let's jump in. Let's jump into our session. So, point number one, I'm going to bring back my face so we can talk. So, number one, the first thing we want to look at is, or acknowledge, perhaps is the better word here. Your accent is not the problem. Your accent, your stuttering, your whatever it is that you keep beating yourself on the back about, your silence, this is not the problem. When I'm working with my clients, yes, we talk about these things. Yes, these are the things that are holding your back. But really, the biggest enemy here, the biggest struggle, the biggest roadblock is your fear, your mental state, the thing that's telling you, I can't do this. Right? So that's what we want to look at today, because it's not your English level or your German level or Chinese level or whatever language you want to be speaking. It's the hesitation, the overthinking, and the belief that you're less than or not good enough. And this can be even in your native language. That's why this is not just for, the balloon keeps coming over here. This is not just for people learning English, but just for anyone who feels less than or not good enough. What helps my clients the most, because in this unmute your voice, I'm kind of pulling back the curtain and bringing the juiciest bits, the things I talk about the most in my private one-on-one sessions with clients, and bringing them forward for you. And the biggest thing that I find helpful, the thing that unlocks the most doors, is reframing what confidence looks like. Reframing what confidence looks like. So, confidence is not perfection. I have to move this balloon. Happy birthday! Ah! So, you know it's live. I'm not going to edit that out. So, reframing what confidence looks like, what it sounds like. And it's a matter of, sometimes for some people, it's listening to people they think are amazing speakers and listening for all the imperfections. How many filler words? How many ums? How many likes? How many, how many flub ups? How many times do they aren't perfect? And it doesn't matter. Their message is clear, the message connects, they deliver. Great leaders connect, deliver, and offer clarity. And that's what I'd like you to focus on. Not confidence, not feeling perfect, not taking the cart before the horse. It's about getting clear about your message and the value you're bringing to others. I always like to tell people to base their confidence on that. And if you were listening closely, you notice I made a little mistake saying I don't want to focus on confidence, but actually I do. I want to focus on confidence. That's what we're talking about, but not perfection. The second thing we can do, excuse me, the second thing I want to talk about is learning how to pause and breathe with intention. All right. Many people feel if their English isn't good enough, they feel this strange pressure to speak more quickly, to rush through things, to preempt things with phrases. This may be a crazy idea, or I just wanted to add one thing. There's no need for that. There's no need for these extra words, bigger words, fancier words, jargon, corporate mumbo jumbo. What we want is clarity and your message front and center, and then to breathe and give space for people to listen and absorb your message. It also gives you some time to think about what you're saying next. Strategy tip right there. It's not about how quickly you can speak. All right. The third thing we want to talk about is to own your story and speak from there. So, one thing that really helps break up either a list of facts or a whole bunch of material that we need to go through or steps and procedures is breaking it up with short, small stories. Short, small stories that stick in people's brains. It has brain stick. As humans, we're hardwired to listen to stories. Our ears perk up, our eyebrows get a little excited. We love stories. And if you can offer a personal story, something you know, either from you, from a client, from someone you know, your dog, your child. The source doesn't matter as long as it's something you know well. So you're not scrambling to memorize the facts. It's something you know and you're speaking from your heart. People lean in. They want to know about that. So those are the 3 points I wanted to raise here under number 1, under our first section or topic for today, where your accent or the way you speak is never the problem. It really isn't. It's the fear, it's the mental blocks that we carry and hold our own selves back with that. I'm going to do another sound check just to make sure. I had some topics last time. Yes, excellent. We are doing well with sound. I'm cheering for my own self. So good. While I was doing that, I want to ask you, have you, let me ask it this way. What have you been taught to hide? What have you been taught to hide about the way you speak or about your story? Okay. That is a question for you. I'm going to offer a couple examples here. For myself, there are some stories from my past that I find when I bring them up, it derails the whole conversation. It derails everything, and it's almost too powerful for a little chit chat. It's not a 3 sentence story. So that's one that I save for very special occasions, very big or deep conversations or powerful presentations. And it's about something that happened to me personally when I was 17. I was in a very serious car accident. And so getting into that is it's kind of tough on a 3 minute chat. Right. So these are some of the things, I've learned to become mindful because the reactions are so strong. Another one of my clients, and you can drop your answer in the DM if it's private and you want to talk to me about it, or drop it in the chats. One of my clients from Brazil, she was amazing, so talented, so smart, but she used to apologize for her English. Before she would speak, she would say, "Oh, excuse me, my English isn't so good." And that was something I connected with her on instantly. I have a history as well of apologizing for my language level. Oops. got the wrong slide here. Woo, here I am apologizing. Uh, so apologizing for my German level, for my Chinese level, as I was struggling to develop my skills in these languages, I got into this knee-jerk response of apologizing before speaking. Now, there were a few benefits of that. It's not without its pluses. Everything has a plus and a minus. Some of the pluses are it kind of preps people to know it's not going to be perfect. And people are like, oh, she's trying. Let me encourage her. Or that's so great. You're trying. You're learning. How awesome. On the other hand, it moves people's focus away from the content and the value that I'm adding and more to my language level, which is not what's important in that conversation. So it's about knowing where to put the focus of the listeners. A great example of this is for magicians. And magicians are trained and practiced to put the eyes and attention, the focus of their listeners here while they're shifting something over here. So it's an interesting study of controlling focus or influencing focus. So I worked with my client, the one from Brazil, who was always apologizing for her English. While it was sweet and charming, it was distracting from her message, from her leadership skills, from her leadership presence. So we worked on that, and we worked on removing the knee-jerk response so that she could do it when she wanted to, when it was appropriate, and not when it was distracting. And now, yay! She's leading international team meetings without flinching. So huge win. Huge shout out there. Love those stories. Love those stories. It's a small tweak that can make a huge difference in your life. So that's what I'm about. And point number two, we're moving along. Clarity is always more powerful than perfection. You've probably heard the phrase, done is better than perfect. This is a little bit similar. Clarity is always more powerful than perfection. I mean, really, when was the last time you sat back and thought, wow, her grammar is so good. Let's take her choice. Let's follow her decision. No, never. That's not what we're thinking about. It's clarity and leadership presence. So, what you may have noticed while we're here in this live conversation, or if you've watching on the replay, or if you've seen any of my other videos, most fluent speakers, including me, are not perfect. We're not. In fact, we're not even more correct than non-native speakers or learners. We are just more confident. We're more confident about speaking the language because we're not thinking about the grammar. We're not second guessing the grammar. We're not questioning the verb tenses. We're just putting it out with the focus on the meaning, on the clarity. And that's what I encourage you to do as well. Ways to do this. I mean, that sounds great. Like, sure, okay, I'll just stop thinking about it. But how to do it, and how to get other people who are listening to you on board with the way you speak. So I'm going to give you 3 points here. So 1, we're going to cut filler words and speak in short, clear sentences. And this is true whether you are fluent and strong in a language or not. Speak in short, clear sentences. This is not writing. This is not your thesis document. This is speaking and showing up and being present. This is what we're focused on here. Cutting out filler words, cutting out phrases that distract from your meaning. Distract by saying, oh, I'm sorry about my English level, or my grammar's not right, or this may be a crazy idea, but say the idea. Let us hear it. Give us a chance to think about it and respond. That's what we want to do. The second point I'd like to offer today, and this is really an interesting one. I have a whole program or a whole document all about using a verbal highlighter. So, using your voice to highlight key points or words in your speaking. We all know how to do it in writing. And if you're looking on LinkedIn, you can see bold text or emojis, or can underline things or highlight things, but how to do that verbally. I have a whole thing about that. If you're interested, go ahead and write to me, ask me about verbal highlighter. I can send you a document. But one easy thing to do to emphasize key points is to use, a lot of people kind of rush into it. They rush into it to show how important it is. But I say slow down. Don't use speed as a highlighter. Use your tone. So you can get louder or you can get quieter. Both are powerful. Both are powerful to use your verbal highlighter. So that's a really great tool, especially in a group setting, especially in a tense team meeting. It's a great way to get attention on your words, on your ideas, and away from emotions and things that are happening. Great leaders are not the loudest in the room. That's something to keep in mind. That's something to always keep in mind. And slow down to be taken seriously. When leaders speak more slowly, it sounds as if, as listeners, we think that it's coming from a place of calm and clarity, even if it's not. And we take these people more serious. In an intense situation, firefighters, police officers, people are trained, even newscasters, trained to slow down to be taken more seriously. And this is what you can use as well. But in addition to these 3 pieces I highlighted for you, because I can't share everything in a 30 to 40-minute session, what makes someone sound more clear to you? What do they do that makes them sound more clear, more confident, more like a leader? Go ahead and drop that in a comment or let me know. Send me a DM. Let's have a conversation about this. I'd love to know what you're seeing out in the wilds, and let me know what you think about these topics. Excellent. Excellent. Great. Now I'm getting some comments, but I can't. Okay. Good. I see people coming. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Good. Now, I was working with, now this was some years ago, actually before I started Talk with ECM, and I was working with a German engineer and I was coaching with him. Just, I mean, super brilliant man working on really complex projects and ideas. But we worked together to simplify how he explained things because he was so used to talking to people on his team, talking with other engineers, and everything just kind of didn't work anymore when he had to talk to managers or cross team members or even social situations. So we worked together to simplify explaining things, using analogies, using imagery, painting pictures with his words. And suddenly, it took some time, it took some practice, and I kept leaning in and saying, I don't understand that. But what if someone doesn't understand that? How can you explain that? And it just with more and more practice, he got the idea, he got the flow, and then he actually started enjoying speaking more about his work, what he was working on, his projects, his ideas, and it just became an all-around positive in his life. And suddenly execs were coming to him to ask for his opinion first. So rather than being afraid to talk to him or having a bubble of like confusion around him, people found him more approachable, more understandable, more likable. And he started getting more opportunities for leadership, connection, and promotion. So that's another win I like to highlight. I love to highlight wins. They're like, yay, this is why I do what I do. I love it. Just changing a few things about how we speak really makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And I want that for you too. So, number 3, moving right along. We're 26 minutes after the hour. This is a pretty big mindset shift. Let me get a drink of water here. Leadership is a conversation. Leadership, it's not a poster board. Leadership is not a dictate. Like, leadership is a conversation. And the sooner we understand that, the sooner we get the results we want from our team. Leadership is a conversation. And I find this is true in so many aspects of our lives. But remembering leadership is a conversation, and you don't need the perfect script. I mean, many people, especially right at the start when they get into a new role or a new step in leadership, a new team, the anxiety is around which words should I use? How should I say this? Focusing on me and my words and my language, me as a leader, it should be about your team, your audience. Who are you speaking with? What are they listening for? What do they need to hear? Right? What will they understand? Leadership is a conversation. And for this, you need presence, leadership presence. And an easy way to start flexing these muscles is asking powerful questions. Asking powerful questions. And that's not just powerful questions as in, trying to trip them up or demonstrate how much smarter you are or manipulating them into a corner. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's about asking kind of the questions I asked before, but to them, what words are they using? What areas are they insecure about? What areas do they want to develop further? What are their ideas, their passions, their dreams, their fears, problems? What is going on in their brains? Lean into that. Ask those powerful questions. Now, as a leader, you'll have an overview of things that they may or may not even realize are influencing the situation. But that's your position. That's your job. But the best thing is to keep tabs on all the different players so that you can integrate them into a powerful strategy moving forward. That's your role. You're like the conductor of the orchestra. So another way to do this is to reflect on what others say. So when you hear someone saying something, whether it's new or not new, reflect on that. Acknowledge that you've heard it as a way to build connection. When someone feels heard, this builds connection and trust. And that has nothing to do with your grammar. That has nothing to do with your pronunciation. That has to do with a human-to-human connection. That has to do with a human-to-human connection. And leading in this way is often easier in one-to-one conversations, maybe in reviews, maybe when someone comes to you with a problem. This is a great way to start practicing. And as you build up your muscles of leaning in, of listening, of reflecting, of connecting, and not focusing on having the perfect words, the perfect structure, the perfect answer every time, but taking all of this in, then you can have a better performance, a better solution, a better presentation when it's time to engage with the entire group or the larger group. So practice leading one conversation at a time. And that can be as simple as just a 2-minute reflection after a conversation's over. How much was I speaking? How much was I listening? What did I learn? What did I reflect back to them? How did I feel in that conversation? How did I think they felt? These are all key questions to develop your leadership presence. And I'm not saying, of course, everyone should be happy, happy unicorns, touchy feeling all the time. That's not leadership either. But it's about being intentional and using conversations to get you there, right? Conversations are currency, what my friend Michelle in Florida loves to say all the time. And I agree wholeheartedly. So, what could change? What could change in your life? This is a little thoughtful question. I don't expect an answer in the comments, but what would change if suddenly you saw every conversation as a leadership moment? And this is whether or not you're in a leadership position. What could change in your life? Psst, spoiler alert, a lot. A lot would change. A lot would change. Um, I have a very dear friend of mine who lives in Taiwan contacted me because she was leading a meeting, her first meeting in English, right? So she was used to working in English or leading in Chinese, but this was going to be the first time she was leading a strategy meeting in English. And this was last month. And she had all the feelings. I mean, she really had all the feelings. She was excited. She was thrilled. She was energized. She was passionate. She was terrified. She was nervous. She felt sick to her stomach. Like, honestly, all the feelings. She had all the feelings, and we worked together and she did it. She did a brilliant job. She was worried about her English, but I emphasized to her the same way I did in the session, it's not about your English. This is not an English test, right? Life is not a language test. It was about her strategy, her leadership skills, her leadership presence. And not only did she do an excellent job, I mean, she called me up ecstatic. She was so excited. The meeting went really well, and they came up with new strategy solutions moving forward, which is the point of the meeting. But additionally, 2 weeks later, she was offered a promotion. Coincidence? I think not. I think not. I mean, she put in the work and she's getting the results, and I'm so excited about that. So again, you know, as much as you might think I'm full of applesauce, language is never the problem. Language is never a problem. The problem, it's your mental roadblocks that are holding you back. Because now is the best time to own your voice, speak with intention, and stop waiting for perfection. We don't need perfection. We need intentionality, clarity, and value. So that's why I want you to own your voice and speak up. Offer your wisdom, offer your insights, offer your experience. Bring that to the table to help your team, your colleagues, or in your next job interview, whatever situation you're in. This is where we really want you to own your voice and own your story. Confidence is a skill and you can build it like other skills. You don't need to be a native speaker in any language to lead. You just need to own your voice, speak with intention, and stop waiting for perfection. That was one thing it really hurt my heart when AI generated voiceover started coming out. And I know they're getting better, and that's absolutely true, but it breaks my heart because, you know, your voice is something you should never, ever outsource. Why? It's yours. It's your brand. It's what people know, like, and trust. And if you don't let people hear your voice, how can they know you? How can they like you? How can they trust you? big questions. Big questions. But what I also want to talk about today, besides unmuting your voice, is I want to talk about our session next week. It's the 31st of July. And you can see in the picture, I still had braces and now they're off. So happy. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had braces, if you know what I'm talking about. My goodness. So next week, we're going to be talking about stories because stories are really the shortcut to connection and memory, talking about brain stick. So this is more about the content of what you're saying. Today we talked a lot about confidence and how you speak. Next week we're focused on what to say. If that's interesting for you, I'll give you the link after I'm finished the session. It'll be down in the comments because busy leaders don't have time for fluff. This section is all about how to tell stories that not only stick with brain stick, but also inspire people to think differently, act differently, do different things, take action from your words. Isn't that awesome? That's what we want. We're going to be talking about that. I'll give you a 3-part story framework that you can use on the fly. We'll be keeping stories brief but powerful and using stories to highlight, not distract from your message. So it really highlights, underlines, accents, adds a little flavor and brain stick to your key message. That's what we're talking about next week. It's Thursday, July 31st at 11 a.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time. So that's Vienna time. And I want you to remember that your story is your secret weapon. Your story matters. So use it well. All right. Thanks for joining me today and every week here on Unmute Your Voice. Next week will probably be our last session for a while. I have some things coming up in August that makes it hard for me to join. Hi, welcome. I see some people squeezing in here at the end. So glad to have you live. Go ahead and let me know in the comments if you're live. Live, hashtag. And I'll see you here next week for Unmute Your Voice. Thanks for joining.